I want people to know that if you listen to this little voice in your head, I'm not telling you to listen to the crazy voice that tells you to do bad things. I'm telling you to listen. I really want to emphasize that. To listen to the little voice in your head that, so for example, when I joined the Bledsoe Said So Discord and they made a post about, hey, in April, we're going to be having a booth at the Azalea Festival in Wilmington, North Carolina. I felt that push, like a little nudge on my shoulder. I heard that voice in my head that really just sounds like my own voice, but it's saying, if you don't take this opportunity, it's going to pass by. And so it just kept eating away at me over the next few days. And I told my husband, I'm like, I think I'm going to be this crazy person. I don't know anyone. I don't have any friends. I'm just going to go. And it was absolutely like one of the most important weekends of my life, because now I've learned, listen to that little voice in your head, because it has guided me time and time again
Yes.
to a very, very blessed place.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Beyond the Lights podcast. I'm your host, Justin, and today we're going on a new journey, and we have an amazing guest, and she is a fellow veteran, experiencer, and seeker. She is the creator of the Kory MooFO YouTube channel and the Phenomenon Project podcast. So, everyone, please welcome Kory to today's episode. So,
Hi,
Kory, how are you
everyone.
doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on for the inaugural episode of
Yes,
something that I've been looking forward to you doing for a really long time. So I'm excited and thankful to be here.
well, I'm so glad that you're here. And honestly, I couldn't think of a better guest to have on. You've been so supportive through my making lights over Loveland and everything I've been doing. So I'm very happy that we get to have a conversation today. And for anyone who hasn't checked out Kory's podcast, I did go on and do an episode as well. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely go check that out. And I will be linking all of her socials down below. So definitely go give her a follow and check out all of the amazing work she's been doing. I guess we'll start wherever you would like to start, Kory. How did you get into your experiences? How did you start experiencing the phenomenon? And yeah.
So where I am now, in hindsight, being 2020, I know that all of this started for me when I was younger. When you think about the phenomenon, it's such a wide variety of different things that are going on. It's not just orbs of light in the sky or UFOs, which is really what drew me in more recently in my life. But when I was a little kid, I always felt like there were things around me. I would see things and experience things that you could attribute to maybe ghostly encounters, spiritual encounters. I remember being very, very young and always playing with like a little boy. But I don't remember seeing him physically, but I remember him being around me and just his energy. And as a 4 or 5-year-old, that's a pretty complex thing to experience. And it just felt so second nature. And I've actually felt him kind of follow me through my life into adulthood. And just on a funny side note, he has like kind of tortured ex-boyfriends of mine that he didn't
Oh, wow.
like with like weird, ghostly, creepy, scary things around the house, moving stuff around, turning lights on and off. And even with one ex, he appeared at the foot of the bed, which it's a very scary thing to see in the middle of the
Yeah,
night.
no, definitely.
So
Yeah.
so when I think about the phenomenon, I think about a lot of those things: sleep paralysis, seeing shadow figures, seeing the man with the top hat during sleep paralysis, which is something that a lot of people experience. Also, moments of psychic information coming in. I would not label myself as a psychic or a medium, but there have been very clear moments in my life where information and messages have come through where, I mean, I couldn't have made it up, when you're pulling people's actual names out of a hat and saying, "Did your grandfather pass away? And was his name Charlie?" And like, how would you know that?
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think I think a lot of people can relate to tiny little moments like this that have happened in their life. So, I've had a lot of paranormal experiences in my life, yet I always was very resistant to God, and especially resistant to Jesus and religion. And I would go to church as a little girl, and I would have a good time, and people were very kind, and I got to play with the other little kids. But the whole time, I'm 5 or 6 years old being like, "Are these people buying this right now?"
Right.
It didn't make sense to me, and it wasn't until I was 30 years old, it was right before I turned 30, that I saw an interview come across my YouTube feed, which was just not a part of my normal algorithm at all. And it was, I believe it was Ryan Bledsoe's interview with Danny Jones, and I put it on, and he kept referencing his father's interview. You know, my dad talked about this, my dad talked about that. He told this story, that story. So I just pressed pause and said, I just need to go back to this episode and hear it straight from Chris Bledsoe. And I can't even explain to you how it felt. Like something just clicked. It just felt like this knowing came through where I was like, whoa, okay, this is something that I've been looking for my whole life. This connection between religion or spirituality and then science, UFOs and spirituality. So, long story short, with all of that, I decided to read his book, UFO of God. I started listening to Ryan Bledsoe's podcast, Bledsoe Said So. I joined the Bledsoe Said So Discord. And within a few months, I decided to go to North Carolina because I was living in Florida at the time. So I took a trip up to North Carolina to meet the Bledsoes and Skywatch. And I remember seeing the orbs for the first time and having such a beautiful experience. And I had this direct experience with them where on 2 separate nights that weekend, I was pointing out an orb to somebody, and I'm like, "Do you see that orb right there?" And it illuminated so bright, and each
Mm.
night, that was the brightest orb. And I'm not saying that to claim that that was because of me. I think that the orbs and these beings have this incredible ability to have many connections all at once. So what that meant for me meant something for someone else and meant something for the next person, but it's all equally as beautiful and magical. I remember being in my hotel room at 3 in the morning, just like wide eyed, not being able to sleep, and like, what is going on with this world? This is real, this is true. And I decided to go out and experience it on my own. And I did. And I found that it's really easy to do if you put yourself in the right setting, if you put yourself in the right mentality and heart space, and that these beings love us. I know that I'm going on and on about it, but I just
No,
like,
you're good. Yeah.
it's changed my life in so many ways. I hope to inspire people. And that's really where this long journey the last couple years has brought me, is wanting to bridge that gap for people and inspire people to just seek this experience on your own. I don't have all the answers. I only know my story, and I know the stories of others who have shared it with me and their experiences. And it's a beautiful thing, and it can and will change your life in very magical ways.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. And a lot of things that you said, a lot of similar things happened to me as well. Just I didn't like the religion aspect of growing up too. My parents were Catholic, and just I remember going to church and it never making sense. Like, you have to do these things or you're going to be punished. Like, isn't God supposed to
Mhm.
love you no matter what?
Right.
And then a little bit different order for me. I actually experienced the orbs first and then found the Bledsoes. But yeah, once I found Chris Bledsoe and his story, it just resonated so well. And like you said, it brought me to that spiritual aspect as well that I was completely missing in my life. And it's been really cool to see like your journey as well, because you actually got to meet the Bledsoes and become a part of their community, becoming like a Discord mod and all these different things. So, um, yeah, just amazing journeys and like just incredible. And I'm so like thankful that I'm on the path that I'm on. I'm sure you feel the same way. Like how I was living life before was not, it wasn't healthy, honestly.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. And I've been very, very blessed the last couple years in ways that I've just never experienced in my life. And that's not to say that I haven't been through troubling times. Like right now, I'm going through technically the hardest time of my life, but would not be able to make it through without this relationship that I have with God right now. Like I feel so much more grounded and stronger. And when I'm going through all this stuff, I lean in to God. And I want people to know that if you listen to this little voice in your head, I'm not telling you to listen to the crazy voice that tells you to do bad things. I'm telling you to listen. I really want to emphasize that. To listen to the little voice in your head that, if you, so for example, when I joined the Bledsoe Said So Discord and they made a post about, hey, in April, we're going to be having a booth at the Azalea Festival in Wilmington, North Carolina. I felt that push, like a little nudge on my shoulder. I heard that voice in my head that really just sounds like my own voice, but it's saying, if you don't take this opportunity, it's going to pass by. And so it just kept eating away at me over the next few days. And I told my husband, I'm like, I think I'm going to be this crazy person. I don't know anyone. I don't have any friends. I'm just going to go. And it was absolutely like one of the most important weekends of my life because now I've learned listen to that little voice in your head because it has guided me time and time again
Yes.
to a very, very blessed place. I know that you can definitely relate to that too.
Yeah, to me, that voice is just like my intuition. It's that thing that's just you feel it like in your bones. Like I need to do this thing, or like you're going to be missing out on possibly the path that you're supposed to be on. But yeah, that's incredible. And for anyone who hasn't seen Corey's like orb footage and stuff like that, she has recorded some of the most incredible things that I've seen anyone post online. Like your video where you have them get like real big and then the orb pop out of there. That blew
That
my mind when I saw that. Was so crazy.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Gosh, you just light up the whole sky. Incredible. You guys are getting so dim on me. What? Thank you. And there's that little orb you popped out. Wow. Thank you. That is hands down probably my favorite, maybe my second favorite, but that experience was another like pivotal point in this whole thing. So that was in Riverfest in Wilmington, North Carolina, 6 months after I met the Bledsoes. And there's something about those October festivals. I don't know if it's just the energy at that time of year, but the last couple that I've been to, just these amazing, incredible things happen. And so I ended up extending my trip in Wilmington because I was living in Tampa and there was a hurricane coming. So my husband said, just stay in Wilmington. I was like, sweet, an
Yeah.
extended trip.
Yes.
So for the day or two after the festival, people are starting to obviously go home. The group is dwindling down, and there was a few of us on the beach. And this was maybe like 2 nights after the festival, and we started to see these explosions of light in the sky. And each time I just like was barely catching it with my camera. Everybody was freaking out. And it wasn't until maybe a couple of days after that I was the last one on the beach. Everyone else had gone home, and I was still sort of like, stranded there, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happily stranded there, but, um, and as soon as I got my camera set up, I saw it just like the other nights. These 2 orbs were just traveling together. I have like an hour of footage of these 2 orbs going together, but there were these moments where when I communicated with them, they would essentially like explode and light up the whole sky. And like you said, you see a little orb come out. So that was a huge moment for me because that's when I decided to start sharing my videos more publicly. That and someone had taken a lot of my videos out of the Discord and shared them, and then
Mm,
some other YouTube account took those videos and shared them, which, like, really stressed me out
yeah.
because I wasn't ready to put myself out there like that. But what I thought to myself after initially being stressed and, like, irritated, I said, "What's the silver lining here?" People like these videos and think that they're so compelling that they wanna share them. I need to start sharing them, and I need to start putting myself out there. So, that was, like, the first video I ever shared on my Instagram was me saying, "You guys are getting so dim on me," and then it's just this huge
Yeah. It's
explosion,
so incredible.
I don't quite know what to think about that orb in particular because when I had shared that footage, obviously, with the Bledsoes, they talked about and you can Google this, and again, I don't know a lot about this stuff, but there's, like, different types of angels or different orders of angels, and there's one that is called, I believe, a throne, and it's also known as, like, a God's chariot, and it carries other orbs or other
Mm.
angels inside of it. And again, you can give it a Google because I did, and it'll show you an orb and then a bunch of little orbs with like faces, like an angel
Oh,
holding an
wow.
angel. And there was this one moment, I don't think I ever shared this video. I could though, but these 2 orbs are flying. This is the same weekend. They're flying very close together. And I said out loud, like, I believe you to be a throne or a God's chariot. Is that true? And then they both illuminated and then they got dim again. And when you just put yourself out there and you open up, like, I don't know how people could be afraid of this. They obviously care about us and they love us and they want this connection. And they've never hurt me. They've never done anything bad to me. It's been nothing but bringing me closer to God. And when people say negative things about this phenomenon, it hurts my heart,
Yeah.
because if this was the work of something dark, why would it be bringing me so close to God in these moments? I know that you feel the same way about that.
Yeah, like it brought me to God. I didn't even believe in God, and now I do after experiencing it.
That's the
And
work of the devil right there.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're trying to trick you. Um, but yeah, it's just and then you get like the criticism from people who are just like, "Oh, it's a satellite or whatever," and they don't get the whole experience. They're not there. They're not asking the questions and getting the responses like immediately, which is incredible. I will say, because I've done a couple events now last year, and we had like 10 or 12 people come and show up. And we did try to keep it very loving, open, and just like, send out love and gratitude and everything. And I tell everyone here, I think they're here to help us and everything like that. It does get a little overwhelming for people who haven't experienced the phenomenon before. Like we had a family come out and we saw uh, like 60 plus things in like a matter of minutes, and they're just like, is this normal? Like, I think people, the biggest thing of fear is just waking up to the fact that there's that much going on above them that they had no idea about, like they
Yeah.
didn't know about it at all. So I feel like it's been like my job. You probably feel the same, but yeah, just to bring people to the understanding that it is here in love and it is here to bring you to a greater connection to whatever that may be, your higher self, God, the universe. But yeah, I think it's something definitely positive. And I think once you experience it, it does forever change you.
Yeah, and then some people, it doesn't really affect them at all, but they're
Yeah.
just like, but that's okay. My husband is like that, and he only very recently started to open up just a little bit, and right when he cracked that door open on his own, weird stuff has been happening to him and
Mm,
around him. So then he wants to shut the door and he's like,
yeah.
"Ah," but
Yeah.
we do need some people to ground us. If I didn't have my husband grounded in this reality, I'd be floating up in outer space right now.
Yeah, definitely.
You
Yeah, no,
know?
my wife's the same way. She's like, "That's your thing." Like, she's seen the orbs and everything. Like, even the Psy stuff, I'm, like, showing her, like, people doing mind sight and everything, and she's so skeptical about it. I'm just like, "I
Mhm.
need to get you to see this in person because I
Yeah.
know this is real." But, yeah, just incredible, and, yeah, I just think it's, like, our mission to help people become open to the right like mindset and awareness that you can experiencing like these amazing things out there.
Right. I think that I have had a lot of skywatches where I feel overwhelmed, and I haven't skywatched in the last few months just because 'cause it's been so cold.
Yeah, same for me
Um,
actually.
it's just way too cold. I'm
Yeah.
okay staying indoors and focusing on other things that surround this topic, but yes, there have been times where I've felt really overwhelmed even as, like, a quote, unquote, "seasoned sky watcher." There are times where I feel overwhelming emotion and overwhelming, like, imposter syndrome, where I'm filming and I'm just seeing triangle after triangle, and they're responding to what I'm saying, and I'm like, "Why me? Why am I having this experience?" But it's not that there's anything special about me. I think that there are just some people out there who are being exposed to this stuff on such a higher level because we need to be able to bridge that gap for all
Yep.
the all the normies and and help them understand that this isn't anything to be afraid of. So I think that people also feel maybe afraid of the lack of control that they have over the situation, because when you see a dozen strange lights in the sky, you suddenly feel, "Okay, are they gonna snatch me up at any moment?" Or
Yep. I've felt
they
that before. Yeah.
yeah, there's been times where there's been so many around that I feel dizzy. And I don't know if it's just from my emotions or the energies, but I'm like, "Please just do I'm not ready. Don't take me right now." I know that I always
Yeah.
jokingly say, like, "Beam me up," but
Hmm.
I'm not ready.
Yep.
And, yeah, I understand where people are coming from when they're skeptical or they feel overwhelmed or they feel afraid. And if you feel super afraid of this stuff, there's nothing forcing you to go outside. You can still practice all the same things indoors, like opening your heart, opening your mind, meditating day to day, slowing down and focusing on positivity, right? Like, I have issues with patience. So what I need to do is slow down, and before I get snippy or before I get irritated, just pump the brakes and focus on love. And those are just like the most basic things that people can do to really change their life and their energies. And guess what? When you do stuff like that, you might not realize it, but you are connecting with the phenomenon. You are naturally attracting more love and light into your life when you do stuff like that.
Definitely. All right. Well, maybe let's talk about the Monroe Institute. I know you've gotten to go do the Gateway experience, which I really would love to get out there and go to the Monroe Institute, but I would love to hear your experience and what you thought about it.
The Monroe Institute was such a beautiful experience. If people are able to afford going in person, I would highly recommend it just because it's so magical being in Virginia. I haven't been, there's other campuses too. I want to say there's one in Arizona and I think there's a couple others, but I went to the one in Faber, Virginia. And it's so magical. The energy there is next level or a million levels up. It's just so
Yeah.
different. Anyway, I was lucky enough to be a part of a group. I think there were 17 of us, and these were all people who had known about Chris Bledsoe's story, had UFO of God, and that we believe in the orb phenomenon. And It was sort of, in a way, I wanna say, to kinda see what would happen with all of us, right? Like, if you get a group of people who are this connected to this one thing, what's gonna happen? And our trainers, who their names are Darren and Arky, they were unbelievable. They were so incredible. I love them. I wish I could do every single Monroe retreat with them. They said that sometimes you see groups of people who connect really well, but that there was something about our group that was super special. And that, I mean, we were quantum entangled in ways I didn't even know was possible, in the sense that people were showing up in each other's meditations. And you know, for example, like I had a meditation that was so beautiful and incredible. I had the intention of meeting a light being. And when I saw the light being, he was like all illumination. He didn't have any discernible features. It was just a glowing silhouette of light. But at a certain point, he flashed his physical face to me, and it was like it felt like a real flash, because I have
Hmm.
my mindfold on, and all of
Yeah.
this is happening consciously. But then in front of my eyes, I saw the flash of a physical face, and he looked like a really friendly Voldemort, where he was like pale and he didn't have a nose and he didn't have ears. But later on that night, and I hadn't told anybody that I saw this being's face, one of my friends came to me and said, during this same meditation, you know, during Focus 21, I got a flash of this being's face and I heard Kory. And I knew that he was there for you. And he looked like a friendly Voldemort. He had no nose and no ears. And so that's the kind of stuff that happened during that week, where when you get a bunch of people together that are all on the same wavelength, unbelievable stuff happens where you're like, you're not making this stuff up. There's something very real going on here. So we also skywatched too, which was really incredible. And we saw probably 50 or 60 really bright orbs. And we saw something new that I had never seen before, which was, when I say giant, I mean it. For me, it looked like the size of like a basketball. This was
Hmm.
not a firefly.
Dang. Yeah.
This was not like, I mean, we know what a firefly looks like. And this thing was probably about 50 or so yards away. And it just came out from behind a tree. And it was flashing so fast that my psionics did not even pick up on all the flashes. On my psionics, it just looks like it's flashing like this. But this thing was like
Hmm.
strobing.
Wow.
And it was going in these spirals, and everybody was like, whoa, 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 what is that? And it appeared as different colors to everybody. So for me, I saw green, and in my camera, I picked up green. But there are people that saw blue, there are people that saw white and red. And um, amazing things just happen when you're in the right headspace, heart space, and when you're surrounded by really cool people.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and when we did my event last year too, we saw like an orb parade that was going nonstop for 35 minutes from the horizon, and I saw them as like an amber, like kind of like fire color. And then talking to the other people, same as you described, they were seeing different colors and stuff too. It's incredible that people experience these different things when you think everyone's experiencing the same thing you are. Like me and my friend used to talk about all the time. He's like, how do I know that the same blue is the same blue that you're seeing? Like,
Hmm.
we don't know what anyone else is experiencing in their reality. So, just that's so incredible that people were able to say like they saw the different colors and everything like that. And you also had like video footage of what you saw and they can compare it. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really incredible, and that's a pretty normal part of the phenomenon, is people seeing things differently. Or, and when I mean differently, I mean really differently. Sometimes people will see, I've read stories about people who have seen UFOs in their home, right? Like something that's much smaller, obviously, and it's not like nuts and bolts. But there's this one story I'm thinking of where a husband and wife, their dog was injured and they were going to have to put the dog down, and the wife just kept praying all night long, like, God, please heal our dog. And then in the middle of the night, they both woke up and went downstairs, and the husband witnessed seeing a glowing horseshoe. That's the shape of what this was. And the wife didn't remember seeing anything at all. She didn't even remember it, but the dog was healed the next day. So it's like
Wow.
two people that are standing side by side one person might see something, one might not see anything at all. There's also experiences where um, I was reading my friend who actually went to the Monroe Institute with us. His name's Edson Freeman, and I have an interview with him on my channel. And he has a book called Strange Light that is right up your alley. It's like a combination of all these different really cool stories: orbs, UFOs, NDEs, psychic paranormal experiences. But long story short, there's a story in his book, and these are real stories that he got directly from these people, where there was like a family driving in a car and there was a huge UFO overhead. It was like an orb, and the daughter saw it, the husband saw it, and the wife could not look at it. She physically
Mm.
like could not look up even if she wanted to. And sometimes I wonder if people are just blocked because maybe they're not ready to see something like that, or who knows what the reason is. But you can't knock people's stories just because they sound weird, because all of them are going to sound weird. It's just a weird thing
Definitely.
that's going on.
Yeah, that's something that I think about all the time. Like, who am I to say that someone's truth didn't actually happen? I didn't experience what they experienced. Um, wow.
Mhm.
Did you notice? I hear from some people who go to the Monroe Institute that, like, once they're done, just everything's just like amplified, like their manifestations, their experiences are just like an overdrive. Did you have like an effect like that after Monroe?
A little bit, yeah. I think the biggest change I felt was within myself. I felt there's only one other time in my life where I felt like this, and it was after deployment. And so when I came home from deployment, and then when I came home from the Monroe Institute, I had very similar feelings where I was like a whole new person. I was more patient. I was just like living on a slower frequency. I was more relaxed. And I don't know if it's just having a totally different perspective in life is going to change you. And of course, like after deployment, after some time, I regress back to my normal, like impatient self. And after Monroe, you do come back to reality a little bit. But I will say that afterwards, um, I was driving down the mountain and I was just like beep bopping along, taking my time driving down the mountain. And I all of a sudden noticed there was like a line of cars behind me. So I pull over to let them all go. And this one truck pulled up to me and he's like, "Hey, are you doing okay? Is everything okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just driving." And he's like, "Okay, well, like you're going really slow." So I'm like, I'm just living life differently. But as far as like other things being amplified, I do remember weird stuff happening around the house for a little bit,
Mm.
sitting on the couch and suddenly hearing a bunch of dishes crashing in the sink, and then going into the kitchen and finding that there was like one cup in the sink and it was standing perfectly upright. Weird things like that. And even like the sound of like shaking, like a bunch of plates shaking. Um, and then, but nothing was disturbed. So sometimes there are weird paranormal things that happen, but then I haven't been meditating as much, and I need to do that because when I do meditate, I feel so much better. But it just, man, that physical life just really brings you back and grips you.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah, I have not been meditating as much as I want to as well. I am planning to get back on schedule now that the new semester has started and I have
Mhm.
morning classes. Because for me personally, meditating early in the morning is the best time. Because if I try to say I'll take the kids to school, then I'll meditate. Well, then I get home, then I'm start working on homework, then I'm editing a video. Then next thing I know, the whole day's gone by. I didn't get my meditation in. So yeah, anyone who does want to start meditating, my friend first started doing this and he told me about it. He'd just wake up an hour before he normally would, and then he would just go meditate. And like fought it for so long because I was like, I don't want to get up earlier, but really you're just
Mhm.
laying there basically sleeping anyways. You're just laying there just your body's asleep, but your mind's just you're just awake, just trying to see what you can experience. I'm always trying to get answers from the universe, my higher self, of what should I be doing? Like, am I on the correct path? Is there any messages I can receive? Anything like that? But,
Mhm. Yeah,
um,
it's tough waking up that early, but it's the same thing as going to the gym,
mhm,
which, like, I personally struggle with. If you do it first thing in the morning, your whole day is gonna be different in the most positive way.
yeah,
If you wake up and you do a 20 or 30-minute meditation and then you go to the gym for 30 minutes, it's like, I can't even imagine how good that would feel. I gotta really
right,
incorporate that into my schedule, but I do like to do yoga, and sometimes I'll put on in the Monroe app, it's called the Expand app, and they have the different focus levels that you can do, and it's just very relaxing music, and you can also put on so during the frequencies, you can also choose other sounds like the birds on Roberts Mountain, which is where the campus is, and you just hear these beautiful birds just singing, and then you get the frequencies, and so I'll do yoga, and I'll throw on some of the frequencies, so I get, like, a little bit of both, a little meditation, a little workout,
yeah,
and it feels really good, and for anybody who feels like, "Oh, I can't meditate, my mind never stops." Like, I feel you. Sometimes I'm up until 4 or 5 in the morning just laying in bed because I can't get my mind to turn off. So, I mean, it's just an ongoing battle, and I think that just trying to clear your mind, is just beneficial. So just keep trying and don't give up, and then all of a sudden one day, it's gonna click and you're gonna feel a lot better.
yeah. I struggled with meditating too when I started because I had never done it before, and yeah, you're just laying there and you're like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, and then your thoughts start
Right.
going and everything. But it's just like with anything, you just got to practice it and then you'll get better at it and everything. And then how you were talking about working out first thing in the morning or meditating first thing in the morning, you feel so good because you're actually like checking something off your to-do list immediately when you wake up versus
Mhm.
you could wake up and just scroll social media and then
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what
So
I was
it's
picturing is, like, you can wake up and you can just hop right on your phone and be staring at that screen, and I'm guilty of it. I really am. That's the first thing I do is that I roll over and I check the notifications on my phone, but I've been trying to change that where when I wake up, I just remain in kind of like this sleepy meditative state just for 5 minutes, and I try to focus on God and thank God. UFO girly, Sarah, she said something really sweet when I interviewed her. She said, "When you wake up, don't look at your phone, look at God." And I was
oh
like,
nice. Yeah.
"Preach, sister. That's what you gotta
Yeah.
do."
Yeah.
So it definitely feels good. I just kind of lay there and envision myself literally before God. Like I just envision myself in this vast open space, and I see Jesus and I see the Holy Mother, and then I see this white ethereal light behind them, which to me represents like, the one true God. And I just in my mind am kneeled before them and thank them and sometimes I don't even think words. Sometimes I just try to let my love flow so that they can feel how I feel. But I'm human and I don't do it every day, but
Yeah.
these are just simple little practices that anybody can do and cater it to your needs and what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be exactly how I do it. Just whatever way enriches your life and is most positive for you is important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I definitely feel like when you wake up to if you can just like it's the perfect time to like go into that gratitude state as well. Like there'll be days where I just wake up and I'll just go through and be like, I'm just so thankful for another day that I'm here
Yes.
and everything like that. So um I know you've been doing or you did a program with Ryan Bledsoe for the Monroe Institute. Can you
Mhm.
explain a little bit how that was?
Yes, that was a lot of fun. That was going over mostly stuff that we did during our week-long retreat. So, most of the stuff I had been exposed to already, like the focus levels. There were a couple of new meditations in there that I hadn't done. But there's this phenomenon you experience, a lot of people, most people experience this. It's called clicking out. So, what happens is your brainwaves are reaching such a low state that you're not sleeping. I know I'm not sleeping when this happens, but it's like you just all of a sudden you click out and then you click right back in when you hear Robert Monroe's voice and he's talking you back and bringing you back into your physical body. And you're like, what the hell happened in the middle of all this? So when I was at the Monroe Institute, I clicked out a lot. And they said that there's a lot of healing going on during that, so I just felt appreciative that at least, like, I don't remember what's going on, but at least something's going on behind the scenes. When I was doing Ryan's mini retreat, which was a weekend long, I felt as though I wasn't clicking out. I was really focused on staying present, and I felt as though I was able to just achieve certain things that I didn't get to the first time. So I didn't go out of body, but almost felt like like if you're envisioning your whole body and say your consciousness is taking up every square inch of it, I felt as though my consciousness was moving from my toes, from my fingertips, condensing and compressing all the way up to where I was like only physically aware of my head. It felt as though like my body wasn't even a part of the equation. I almost felt like my consciousness was slowly hovering right above my head and then coming back down. So, and I had a lot of visuals. I also had crazy dreams, right? Sometimes when you're doing these deep meditations, when I was at the Monroe Institute, I had the craziest dream the first night.
Hmm.
And then during Ryan's retreat, I had the craziest dream that night. So there's a lot of different things going on behind the scenes too. And that was just a lot of fun. That was a really cool perspective. I'd love to do one of Ryan's retreats again one day, especially as he starts to expand kind of like the different things that he goes over. So I would recommend it. And I think that you can check that out on the Bledsoe Setso website. I want to say that he has a website now specifically for being a Monroe trainer, although I don't know the details on that. But just check out his social media for anybody who's interested.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely interested. I think that'd be such a cool experience. I personally haven't got to meet the Bledsoes yet, and I really want to, and I can't wait till I get the opportunity. But yeah, I think that would just be such a fun weekend to hang out with them and do meditations and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and then, if weather permitting, then you guys would be able to skywatch. It was just
Right.
raining cats and dogs the weekend that I went, but we just had Riverfest the weekend prior, so, I had gotten a lot of sky watching in, so I was alright.
All right. So I think we'll transition away from Monroe at this point, and let's talk about the Psy Games. So you went
Mm.
to the first ever Psy Games, and I guess can you give just like your experience, and for anyone who's never heard about the Psy Games, kind of like what was it and what happened there?
So the Psy Games, this was the first ever one that they had done in 2025, by Hakeem. How do I pronounce his last name? Is it Isler?
Sure.
Isler. Ugh, I gotta learn how to say that, but Hakeem is really great. He was also on Naked and Afraid multiple times, and he won.
Wow.
He's into ninjutsu. He's a very, very interesting person. You should look him up on social media. But he had this dream for years that he wanted to do like a psychic Olympics. And what will you experience if you put all these different people with come from different walks of life? They all have different powers, so to speak. And what happens when you put them in a room together and have them compete under pressure? So they had, I think, like 5 or 6 different categories. There was like remote viewing, um, what do they call it? Psychokinesis, something like that. I can't
Thanks.
remember all of
Yeah.
them. Mind sight, and then there was a few others, but it was really interesting because, like, you had these normal people that have just been like, I have these psychic abilities, or I've always felt that there's something different about me. And then when they start to lean into it, they're like, oh, holy crap, there's actually something going on here. And then they compete. And it was really cool. Ryan Dabian, obviously, we're going to give him a shout out
Yes.
because he's an amazing individual. And he was someone that you weren't expecting to do amazing. Like, nobody knows who this guy is. And then he goes in and he wins in like 3 different competitions. And he's just so inspiring. and his heart is so open, and he talks about how everything is heart-centered, which, surprise, surprise, things are starting to add up here.
Yeah.
Everything is surrounding love and opening your heart more. So, opening your heart and embracing love really seems to be the key to unlocking all of the mysteries of our life. So, anyway, Side Games was a lot of fun, and I will definitely be going in 2026 this year. I already got my tickets, and I'm really, really excited. There was also a Skywatch with Chris Bledsoe, which I went one of the nights. I didn't go the other night because I just wanted to hang out with my friends and have a good time. And it's a really great place to get together. They also had an area where children could, like, kinda play, and they were teaching the kids how to do mind sight. We're talking little kids. They were just
Yeah,
teaching them,
that's
and
so
and they
cool.
were instantly getting results. So I think there's talks about having a kids competition this year, which would be cool,
Huh.
but they had some of the kids from, like, the telepathy tapes and stuff there, and they also had a lot of big name people there. They had Danny Sheehan, obviously Chris Bledsoe was there, Chris Ramsey was there, Jordan Crowder was there, I saw Leslie Keane, John Alexander, Joe McMoneagle, like, and a lot of these big name people, some of them were speakers and commentators, and then some of them were just there because they want to experience it. So, it's backed by a lot of these big name people, and they're into this stuff too. And it's just a lot of fun. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. And I'm very much looking forward to going again.
Nice. Yeah, I really hope I can make it this year because it looked so much fun. And then just seeing the crowd's reactions to Dahlia doing the mind sight while she's seeing the colors from across the room and everything like that. Like, it's just so incredible. Like, that people
Yeah.
have these abilities. And I think it's so cool that they created the Psy Games, and it's really gonna push people to evolve their abilities. So, speaking of Ryan Davian, so crazy synchronicity. I live 30 minutes from him, and we actually ended up meeting up last week. And I love BMX and motocross, and he's all about that stuff. So we got to go to the bike park and have a great time. But just like, I love action sports so much, and growing up, seeing how the competition was like back, freestyle motocross was just people doing, they were doing cool tricks and everything like that. But then it's evolved so much it went from, there was the first ever backflip when I was a little kid. I can't remember exactly what year. But now you have guys doing double backflips and tricks while they're doing double backflips. And in BMX, you have people basically doing gymnastics on bikes. Like, it's insane. And then you see the little kids that are coming out now, and they're just already at such a high level compared to everyone. So I think it's just going to keep evolving for the psychic stuff too. Like, once you see what's possible, then you know where the bar is set. You can start pushing it and like going further and further with these abilities. So I know Ryan's been training a whole bunch on his abilities, and I can't wait to see what he does. But yeah, it's just so crazy that he ended up living like right by me, and I was able to connect with him and everything. It's so cool. But
That is a cool
yeah,
synchronicity.
yeah.
To touch on what you said about, like, really raising the bar each time, it reminds me of the 4-minute mile. Nobody had ever
Hmm.
beat the 4-minute mile, and then this one guy beat it, and then what happened after that? Then all of a sudden, more people were beating the 4-minute mile. And Hakeem talked about that a little bit at the Side Games, where he said, "This is what we're doing this year, but it warms my heart to think about 10 or 20 years when all of our kids are growing up, and then they're gonna be, like, levitating stuff."
Right.
You know what I mean? So, it's very cool, and it's very fair the way that they, are not the word grading the competition, mm, measuring the people's success. They're very fair with it, and there's a lot of skeptics, and I'm not talking about healthy skeptics out there. I'm talking about the people that will do or say anything just to feel right and to be up on their high horse. And whenever I make videos about Psy abilities or the Psy Games, or I had Ryan Davian on a couple weeks ago, everyone is a damn critic. And it's the same thing with the orbs, that the people who are criticizing are not the people who are actually doing this stuff. They're not the people who are going out there and sky watching. If you think that all of my videos are satellites, I invite you to please go out and try to replicate exactly what I'm experiencing. Or the people that say you can see through the mindfold. You can see maybe, depending on how loose you have the mindfold, you can maybe see the teeniest little bit of light right around here. There is no way that you can read words. People are like, there's a pinhole through there. I'm like, even if there was a pinhole,
Yeah.
can you read through that?
Right. Yeah,
Like,
definitely. Yeah.
let's just be realistic
Yeah.
about this. And I'm very excited. In a couple weeks, I'm going to have Ryan come back on, and we're going to, instead of focusing on like his story and all of the cool parts about that, we're going to get into actual Psy training about what you can do at home, and also break down all of the things the skeptics say. We're going to go over a lot of different things and just try to show people, like, so you can't just go into the comments and then fart out a comment being negative and hating on it, that we're going to address a lot of these concerns. Because I also think that that's important, right? I don't want to deter people from being a healthy skeptic, but when you are so dead set on just completely throwing the baby out with the bathwater, like you're never going to advance as a person. So be open-minded, be a little skeptical, and then just do your research. And I think that's pretty well-rounded in my book.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think the people that are just so closed-minded in their belief systems just don't have any room for the incredible to happen to them. They're never going to be able to experience a miracle or like this phenomenon or anything like that. And you can definitely be skeptical. Like I was skeptical when I first started seeing the orbs. I was like, are these satellites? Like I didn't know for months. I started seeing them in August, and then in May is when I had the triangle incident. So for 6 months or so, like I still didn't know if I was seeing what I was seeing. I was like, okay, I don't think these are satellites because they seem to show up when I'm like asking, and they seem to respond and do flashes when I'm asking and stuff like that. And then once you just have that moment where it finally just like clicks and you're just like, okay, I know this is real. And I think just, yeah, just you can be skeptical, but just open minded and just open your heart is the biggest thing.
Yeah, and use tools. I know you and I have talked about this before. There are various satellite tracking apps. There's a website called Heavens Above that you can use that gives a lot of detailed information about satellites that are visible near you, at what times, what part of the sky, how bright, how long they'll be visible for. But also, I go out all the time, and just even to let the dogs out, and I'll stand outside for 10 minutes in the cold and I don't see a dang thing. But then there are nights where I go out and it's popping off for hours and hours. So you would think also that if it's a satellite phenomenon, wouldn't you be seeing them every single night? And I'm not just talking about the ones that are so obviously like straight overhead and they don't change their trajectory. And, even if they're blinking in a very specific rhythmic interval, like of every 14 seconds or 18 seconds. Just look out for the anomalies, test it out for yourself, and stop being a keyboard warrior. I'm sick of
Yeah, for
those those people, and the bots too. But what are you gonna do? They're trying to suppress the truth.
definitely trying to suppress the truth. I've noticed that whenever I post something, I'm just like, "This is amazing," and then my video gets like 5 views. I'm like, "Oh, that one just got shadow banned or blocked or whatever it
I know,
is." It's
and you put out a lot of really great content too. And it is weird that there are some of your videos that it just, why is it not gaining traction? You're doing everything right. You're doing everything you're supposed to do. People are sharing your videos and reposting them on Instagram and putting you out there, and you're doing interviews on podcasts. And there are times where I'll put out a video and I'll get a decent amount of views, but then I'll still get like a ton of hate. And then other times I'll put out a video where I'm like, oh yeah, this one's going to slap. And then it doesn't really take off at all. So I think that there are things going on behind the scenes, and I get a lot of hate after Chris Bledsoe does, like, a big interview. So,
Mm,
like, I notice that whenever people who are in the forefront of these types of phenomenon, when they like, the big name people, when they go out, they put themselves out there, then all of the bots or all of the skeptics will find their way down the rabbit hole to my videos, and then I'll get a ton of hate. And it's really orchestrated. Some days it'll be all of the UFO skeptics. Everybody who is saying that those are satellites or Chinese lanterns or drones. But then the next day, it's going to be all the Bible thumpers and the people saying that they're demons and fallen angels. And it seems a little too orchestrated, in my opinion. But that's the world we live in. And you never really know what you're going to get most days.
yeah. Yeah, there definitely seems to be some kind of like coordinated like attack to suppress this information. Like even I think this week James Fox did like a press conference talking about the Virginia incident and had incredible witnesses and everything. And I think even in DC they did a like another part of that. And just the mainstream news doesn't cover any of this. Like,
Because they're bought and paid. I don't know why
yeah,
people even
definitely.
listen to the mainstream
Yeah.
media anymore because everything is rage bait. Everything is designed to divide us when the most important thing for us right now is to put down all of our weapons and come together, man to man, and start to learn to love each other because, we're killing each other based on beliefs and we're killing each other based on religion. And I'm really, really hopeful that in the coming year and years, we finally are told the truth, which you don't need the government to tell you the truth. I think that's what a lot of people are waiting for. The truth is out there if you just go out and connect with it in the night sky, as you and a lot of people know. But yeah, I just hope that people learn to love and realize that there's something higher than us. There's more to life than your day to day 9 to 5 and arguing with your neighbor over politics and all sorts of stuff like that. Let's focus on the love.
Yes. Yeah, definitely like those systems are in place to keep us divided, to keep us stuck and not progressing as a really as a species. Like it's a coordinated thing to keep the human race kind of suppressed, it feels like.
Yeah, and distracted so
Yeah.
we don't realize we're psychic and that
Yeah.
we can read each other's minds or that we can see without our eyes. Think of all the people that would be helped, all of the blind people that can learn how to use mind sight and then they can see with their consciousness even though they can't see with their eyes. There's so many amazing and good things that can and will come from this. And I know that you and I have talked about how and it's not just you and I, because there are other people in my life that I'm noticing that are in this realm of orbs and the phenomenon that are being like, it feels like we're being pushed
Hmm.
hard to look into these psi abilities and mind sight. It's like all of a sudden 2026 hit and it's been nothing but mind sight, psi abilities. And I'm actually interviewing someone tomorrow about psi abilities as well,
Nice.
into mind sight and all that stuff. So we just got to keep this ball rolling and tug at that string and see where it takes us.
Definitely. And I wonder too, like I think Chris Bledsoe said this on Jesse Michaels in his latest interview is we are all creating our reality, which is something that I agree. And I think Chris said, like, if enough people believe that aliens with ray guns showed up, then that's what would manifest or whatever. But then you get into the UFO phenomenon, and we're all getting to the conclusion that this is all consciousness. And
Mhm.
now you're starting to see all these psi abilities that are all connected to consciousness coming out. So it's like, is the collective pushing us into that future or timeline or whatever it may be? Maybe we are actually manifesting that future.
Mhm. I think we might be. I
Yeah.
think we might be, and I don't know how anybody can listen to, like, the telepathy tapes and not start to believe in some of this stuff because it's even more than just these kids being able to read minds. You listen to the telepathy tapes,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yes.
They
anyone who
go
hasn't heard them, go check them out
You
for sure.
have to. It's life-changing, and for any skeptics, it's okay because they go through a lot of different things, like, to try to eliminate your skepticism with logic and reason when they're doing these experiments, these tests with these kids to show you, like, they're not being influenced in any way. Because I know this is a bit of a tangent, but I know that what seems to be happening is these nonverbal kids, they're savants. They are literal geniuses, but they're limited by their body. And what these kids say is that a lot of them are able to control their body more when they feel physical touch, because I think that consciously they are out of their body at any given moment. So when you see these nonverbal kids and they're physically struggling, and their mom comes to lightly touch them on the shoulder. They feel that physical touch, and then they come back into their body, and then they're able to communicate that way. A lot of people are skeptics, and they say, like, "Oh, well, the mother is just applying pressure when they're doing the talking board," and it's not like that at all, because then the kids begin to work on that every day, and then they learn that they're able to do it without the physical touch, a lot of them too. But just to get into the telepathy tapes a little bit, again, it's not just one phenomenon. It's like a variety. It's traveling astrally to other places, like what they call the hill. They also talk about how in their dreams they go to these other worlds where they're being taught by teachers about literature that exists on this planet written by people, but they're going somewhere else to experience that. And it's also mind sight, or I don't know what you would call it, because there was one story of a little kid who loved Harry Potter, but he or she, I can't quite remember. I feel like it was a boy. He loved Harry Potter, but his mom's like, "You've never read Harry Potter." And he's like, "Yes, I have, through my sister's eyes." So he's literally
Wow.
through
Yeah.
his sister's eyes read when she was reading. And they also get into angels. I'm not going to ruin episode 8 because that literally broke my heart, but also opened my heart and so when you listen to this, you're also going to feel connected to angels and to God. You're going to feel better about the afterlife where your loved ones go. There's just so many different things that are encompassed in the telepathy tapes. I was like working at my desk from home at the time, and I'm like sobbing listening to the
Yeah.
telepathy tapes because I'm
I was
like,
at work
this
and
is
I was like
incredible.
hiding down the aisles, like, no one come see me. I'm picking
Yes.
orders. I'm like, don't look at me.
It's
Yeah.
totally life-changing, and what's interesting is that Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell, at a certain point, she had her, I don't even know exactly what you call it, but I mean, her ability to practice medicine was revoked and investigated because she was looking into this stuff just because she wanted to look into it and research it and experiment with it. And they were like, "You're not going to do that. Why? Why not? What's holding you back? Who's it going to hurt?" So there are powers that be that don't want us to tap into all this stuff. And I think that these children are so incredible. They give me a lot of hope. And it's just really beautiful that these children who are underestimated and forgotten about, and their parents are told they're not even in there, they're going to pave the way for the future and they're going to change the world. And it's extremely inspiring and exciting to me.
Yeah. I love everything that the kids are saying. And yeah, it all comes back to love as well. It's just they're connected to the angels and these teachers, and yeah, they're just really being like, it's their mission, it seems like, to guide us into that new way of being and unlocking these abilities and opening up our hearts to, we are so much more than we've been told. Like, really,
Yeah.
we're so much more than our physical body, to bring it back to Monroe. And
Mhm.
I think that's going to be one of the hardest things for like the general public to realize is you are more than your physical body. And honestly, like that shouldn't be that big of a surprise, because if you believe you have a soul, like it's the same thing. Like, I don't get
Right.
that kind of stuff. Or if you believe in reincarnation, then yeah, you're more than your body, you've experienced multiple lives. But yeah, it's just so fascinating, and I love everything that they're doing, and I can't wait for the documentary for the telepathy tapes to come out, because I think that's going to open a lot of people's eyes, because it's one thing hearing it, but people actually being able to see, and they're doing it in a scientific way. They're trying to do anything they can to remove that bias or skepticism and show that this is legit.
Yeah, and anybody who doesn't believe after that is just self-limiting, and I hope you open your heart and your mind. And I also just wanted to touch on that I think amazing and great things can unfortunately come from suffering, which I think a lot of these kids go through so many difficulties. They go through physical difficulties and things that limit them in this physical world, and they are believed to be mentally and physically challenged, so they're treated that way. And there was one, I think it was a girl, but there was one girl that when they asked her, like, "What have you learned from all of this?" Because they put her in, like, like kindergarten level type, education, and she's, like, a teenager. And they said, "What have you learned from all of this? Being such a savant, you're trapped in your body and in this education program, which isn't even focusing on your education." And she said, "The one thing that I learned was patience," something to that effect. And these kids are struggling and suffering, and it's all to teach humanity that we are more than our physical bodies. And I think it's so brave of them to come forward. I think it's a beautiful thing that their souls agreed to go through so much struggle. And not only that, but their families. It's really difficult to be the parent or the sibling, a caretaker at all, especially to a child that has physical disabilities. And I can't believe that, like, magic actually exists in this world, because these parents are finding out, like, "Oh my god, my kid is magic. Like, this is
Yeah.
magical." And so basically what I wanted to round out with that is you can take your own negative experiences. You can take your own suffering. Chris Bledsoe says it. The orbs tend to respond, not always, but they tend to start really responding to people once they are going through a chapter of pain, right, and suffering. So dig yourself out of that hole, out of that depression, pick yourself up and, brush off the dust. Just connect with God, open your heart and your mind and say, "What can I do with this pain?" And try to change it into something good. And the road will open in front of you in a way that it never has before. And that's all I got to say about
Well, I can't think of a better place to end than that. That was a
that.
beautiful message. So, if you have no more final thoughts, I would say definitely go check out Kory's content. Go listen to her podcast. She's doing amazing work and having incredible guests on there. And I can't wait to see what you continue to put out there. And thank you so much for being a part of Beyond the Lights project.
Thank you so much, Justin. And thank you, everybody, for being a part of life and love. And thanks for joining us on this ride.
Awesome. I'll see y'all later.
Bye, everyone.